As a comic book lover, I always really enjoy when LEGO puts out some pretty clearly designed characters that are supposed to match their classic comic outfits. But for the most part, it really seems like they've kind of stopped releasing characters like this. And if they do, it ends up being villain characters, especially in the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery. And it really seems like for a lot of Marvel characters, and especially Avengers members, they're either going to release the characters in their more modern costumes, or for a lot of them even just in movie outfits. Like I've talked about in my custom X-Men figure reviews, I've moved on from just using the official LEGO figures and started buying some different customs to expand my team rosters, or just to improve the figures like on Hawkeye there. Which leads me into the video today, which I'm very excited to show off, being the two figures here by Nostalgia Minifigs, with their first one being Iron Man and the second one being Captain America. Just looking at the packaging quick here, you can see that they have some really fun comic-inspired prints with the different dots, just like they kind of use in Spider-Verse. I will say it looks like the outside clamshell got a little dinged up in transit, which might be a little expected. These are from Hong Kong, so they probably traveled a pretty far distance. But it's just too bad since these clamshells are pretty unique, with the two different bubbles on each of them for an accessory and also the figure. And quick flipping them around, same sort of thing with some really nice art of both of these figures sort of rendered on the back. And it kind of emulates a comic book with the figure featured in the top left. I'm very excited to look at these, and we'll start with Iron Man. And here is the Invincible Iron Man. I just have to say, this is such an interesting and fun character. It has pretty simple printing, but everything is done so effectively and so accurately to the source material, like the darker red being printed as the muscles. It's amazing that they were able to get so much detail in without adding black lines to highlight everything, which is really cool to see. It has custom molded vam braces for the arms and also a helmet. One of the cool things you can do is take off the mask and reveal a Tony Stark head underneath with a red head. Something even cooler is if you get the helmet off, it has a classic yellow face on the back for what LEGO might have done for Iron Man in the past. Also, just again, with those really nice muscle details on the back. It's also a funny little detail. These legs aren't dual molded or anything, but they added the little round parts that are found on those dual molded legs, so it'll fit in with characters that have those pretty well. The wrist sort of pieces don't really affect the movement of the arms, but I did notice when you're rotating the hands, you might need to hold those parts down, otherwise they rotate with the hand. And I'm sure these pieces are going to end up being a little fragile since they are thin and small. So just be careful, hold them down while you're moving the hands, just so they're not getting all over the place. And overall, the lineman is really good. No side torso printing, but side leg printing with the little hip circle pieces that are on the armor in the comics. And just those lines going around the legs work perfectly. The yellow printing on the legs wraps all the way around too, even towards the top when the leg is bent, so that's good to see. I will say that the yellow printing on the legs, though, might be a little darker than I would like. If it was a little bit lighter, it would match a little bit better. It is just perfect as a classic comic Iron Man, like you would hope. But wait, there's more. It also includes that alternate head, with one side being a drunk Tony Stark from the Demon in a Bottle sort of saga. Throw in a liquor bottle and this all kind of goes together pretty well. You'll need to supply your own hairpiece, but all those Iron Man figures usually come with these nowadays. And on the other side of this head, you have a more generic Tony Stark, which matches pretty well with the one that is on the red head. These honestly might be the same print even. It's hard to tell. It seems like the eyebrows might be a little bit different. This is such a cool character and such a fun design, works very well. And his torso is pretty reminiscent of one of the Microfighter torsos that came out in the past. Here's the figure with that on, just so you can kind of see with the less detailed torso. The arc reactor is huge on this, so I don't know if you'd ever actually want to do that. And just something else I just want to point out is at the back of the head, you can see the alternative face poking through the back. I did notice if you turn the helmet towards the side there, the mask might pop off a little bit, and it isn't a super tight connection, which is good because you don't want it to be forced in there and risk stress and breaking it if you take it off and put it on. But definitely keep track of the front mask. You don't want to have it fall off somewhere and lose it. But I'm very happy with this figure. Let's move on to their other one, which again, Captain America, features custom molded mask as well as a shield based off of the more 1940s look, which is perfect just because Lego always makes these circle ones, so it's nice to get this piece molded and printed. Custom sort of glove tops, a little bit of printing on the arms there for some more of that sort of chainmail feathery look. The legs are unprinted, but you know what, works pretty well for a character like this, just because they usually just have the pants and the boots, so these dual molded blue and red legs are perfect for this. Something that I did notice right out of the packaging, the mask is pretty loose, which isn't a terrible thing, but isn't the best thing either. Probably put a little bit of blue tack or something on the top of the helmet to hold it on the head. And it's just a fun little detail. They have their initials on the inside of the helmet, so that's cool to see. Like Iron Man, it also features a double-sided head, with one face being angrier. You can throw on the mask. And again, you know, the head fits both ways. The mouth isn't peeking underneath the mask or anything, so good to see. You know, Lego sometimes has some issues with these where a little bit of the mouth might be under the mask, so glad to see it working out pretty well there. Also, just like Iron Man, the bottom of the face on the other side is going to be peeking out a bit. It's too bad for a figure like this one, just make the mask a little bit longer and I wouldn't even throw off the design of the figure at all. The helmet is also pretty nice and pretty comparable to the one Lego uses, of course, in different coloring. I will say that the A on the Nostalgia figure actually has maybe better printing with the white, and it's also nice to have the actual molded feathers, something that was missing from all of the movie Captain America figures. So that's just something to point out. And again, you know, if you want to use a round shield with this character, you can with one of the ones from your other figures. And you know what, that's also a really great look. It still fits pretty well with this figure, using the more modern shield design. I do really like these gloves. That's definitely a little detail that I don't know if every company would end up doing. Some would probably just do the red hands, call it a day. But on both these figures, those extra little bit of arm details are great. And even for this one, extra printing is also appreciated. Getting the shield off of the figure just has a pretty typical Lego handle. So it fits pretty well in the Lego system. And just great printing again. It's simple and everything is where it needs to be. And I looked up some reference images and I thought it was a little goofy that the belt buckle was blue, but a lot of older Captain America drawings actually have it like that, so it's an accurate detail. Simplicity here is very appreciated. And that star design is actually kind of interesting. It's not super proportional, so it kind of seems like it is stretching out across his body. And there's some pretty subtle details for ab lines in the red and the white. They're a lot more obvious when you're looking at it with your eyes, but you might be able to see them a little bit. So again, it's nice to have some figures that have a very classic design and don't go too overboard with the detailing. Something that's kind of a bummer, I guess, is that this one doesn't feature the classic yellow head like Iron Man does. So there's already somewhat of a little inconsistency between the two different characters here. And like I pointed out on that Iron Man one, the gloves, you know, there's a little bit of a cutout, and I don't think it, not as big of a deal as the Iron Man one. You can rotate the hands, and then the wrist glove parts don't really move as much. But what can I say except just two really great detailed figures for these classic comic book characters. Now let's go on to the final verdict and some comparisons. I think it's easy for me to say that these are now my favorite version of Iron Man and Captain America in my collection. Just a comparison with them with some pretty classic styled costume designs from Lego themselves. And I always love custom figures that easily fit in with what Lego has done themselves, especially for characters on different teams. And it just makes it easier to throw together whatever collection of Marvel or Avengers characters, and the style is very consistent. You know, there might be a little bit of extra detail in certain figures, but consistency is key, and I love having all these different characters put together like this, made from 4 different companies, and they all fit together pretty well. It's great to see, and I love that cohesiveness in my collection. For Iron Man, it's really great to see this more sleek and smooth design as compared to the more metal and bodysuit sort of looks. The classic one always just seemed more like a really skin-tight suit. And, I really like the normal Lego red color compared to the dark red that is used on basically every Iron Man suit since they're all based on movies. What a great figure, great custom molds all around. The printing is phenomenal. And I'm glad to have this one. Let's move on to Captain America. I'll just repeat it again for this character. It's so nice to see it in that actual Lego blue versus the dark blue that is used on all of those movie versions. I love how much comic book suits pop with all the different colors. And it's really nice to finally get that classic shield. Same with Iron Man, those molded parts really work for this character and add so much to it. These figures are so good. I'm so glad to have them. And I can't wait for the rest of the figures to come out from them. Now I just need to ask you, which one of these is your favorite? Do you like Captain America more or Iron Man more? They both have so many positives and very little on the side of the negatives. And if you can get your hands on one of these, I would highly recommend them. The printing is great, the details are great, and who knows if we'll ever see these cool custom molded parts ever again. They work so well for these characters, and I'm so glad to have the versions of these suits. Like I've already said multiple times, they did a great job, and their next figure is going to be Thor. It'll be interesting to see how that one works out, if it has like the weird metal feathered helmet. Who knows? I don't know if I'll end up getting that one just because, like I kind of showed earlier in the video, this version is pretty close to that classic Thor look. It would be nice to get a better helmet. If you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you want to see other Marvel content or custom Lego content, I have a ton of videos on my channel. I've been Brick Ratty Up, and I'll see you in the next video.